Look, it's a Monday and everybody needs a podcast, so we're going to do the podcast you've demanded. A 90-minute preview of Kairat Almaty. This is the ArsenalVision Post-Match Podcast. My name is Elliot. Think about me on Twitter, Yankee Gunner. So I think we'll start with their league and their performances in their league. Then we can break down the individual talent they have, what they're good. No, I can't keep it going, guys. We're going to have to talk about the United game. I mean, we could do a women's pod and talk about beating Chelsea. I think that would be better. I think a Kairat preview would be better. But there's serious stuff to talk about, unfortunately. I will tell you, I owe a lot of thanks and gratitude to the community on two fronts, really. First of all, related to the instant reaction. It was a raw and emotional instant reaction. That's kind of why that pod exists, not for the cold analytical approach, but the emotional approach. It was quite emotional and raw, and people received it in a reasonable way. I know not everybody reacts the same way. So thank you for the kindness that you showed there. I also know that our community, where I live, is going through a pretty challenging moment, and a lot of people have sent messages of love and support and concern, and so I just want to say they're received with love and received with appreciation and gratitude. So thank you, as always, for being wonderful and supportive. We stand for one another, and that's what makes us special. So thank you for that. We'll dispense with all the riffraff, except to tell you that we might take our minds off of Arsenal, and I think the best way to do that is with a scouting pod. So Yildiz, Buati, Julian Alvarez, they're on the agenda. We'll probably do a scouting video, maybe as soon as tomorrow, to get something in your ears and in your eyes that is not Arsenal at the moment, because we need a palate cleanser. But for now, we are going to stick our palate squarely around the delight that was Arsenal United yesterday. And here to do that with me are two men who will no doubt make more sense of it than I did yesterday. One of them is Tim. Hello, Tim.
Hello there.
The other is Clive. Hello, Clive.
Hello.
Okay. I just want to do this, Tim. I just want to quickly get your take on what your concern level is, DEFCON what, anxiety level what, around where the league season is presently. Like, I do think this is a good take stock moment. So let's just take a beat, take stock. What's your concern level in terms of a Premier League title that I think a lot of people were booking rooms near Upper Street for already? You know?
Yeah, my concern level is like moderate to high.
Okay.
Basically, I think, and I think, look, at times like this, and this will happen on this podcast, and it probably should happen on this podcast, and like this is a good time for everyone to unload their baggage, like the little things that have been like annoying them. Like, you know, when you have an argument with someone and you've got some grievances stored up, and while you're in the middle of the argument, you're like, do you know what? Another thing that's been bugging me for a couple of weeks. Like, it's going to be one of those podcasts. So
yeah, just get it out.
Yeah. Like moderate to high. I think there have been concerns about the attack all season. I've said before, I think the squad's too big. I think there's too many players in attack, and it's confusing things a little bit. So that's a little bit of my baggage there. But the thing I'm most worried about at the moment, Elliot, is the stuff that I know we're really good at. We're not doing well at the moment. And you know how annoyed I was on the Bournemouth and Chelsea instant reactions about throwing silly goals away when games should be over, chucking the ball in our own net against teams we shouldn't have been doing it in. 3 games in January have finished 3-2. I don't think 3-2 is the scoreline of a team that wins the league. I've said this before. I think league champions win 2-0, 3-0, you know, no hassle, like we were doing earlier in the season. I think if you keep winning 3-2 and you keep kicking the ball in your own net all the time, or just giving it to the opposition, eventually you're going to lose 3-2, basically, and we'll get into it. But that's kind of the thing I think I'd like to see fixed the most, to be honest.
It's an interesting point. I'm in a WhatsApp chat with a bunch of really intelligent Arsenal fans and one dummy, obviously. But the big debate that was going on today is like, oh, it's the attack, it's the attack, it's the attack. And there's one person saying, no, it's the defense. And like, yes, it is the attack that is not as elite at the moment as we would like it to be. But it is the case that our identity is defense. And if this team doesn't stop shipping stupid goals, it's never going to be dynamic enough in attack to overcome shipping stupid goals. Now, some days Galazzo's go in. The Dorgu goal, you know, that goes in. Obviously, don't gift them a goal. Clive, big picture, anxiety level, what's your state of the Arsenal right now?
Well, I'm really anxious about the fact that everyone else is really anxious. And so that's what, and it's clear.
You could hear it at the Emirates. I mean, I'm
Mate.
curious to get your take on that as well. But yeah,
Mate,
go ahead.
Tim, I know Tim had a pre-match drink as well. And how are we all feeling? We're all feeling exactly the same. We know this is it. We know that City had won and Villa had won literally on the afternoon. We were all watching it. And we're sitting there thinking, I know we're the best team. We're the best team. I know we are. But, and then you think about all of the people that you know in the world, all of the WhatsApp groups that you're on, all of the people are going to message you if we don't win the league. And you start to have this burden over you, this psychological burden. And you could, I had it. I'm not unique to anybody. I'm sure everyone listening had the same feeling. I think we're going to win. But I just hope we win. And then it comes back to, when we're going to talk about the team and the game, the psychological aspect is the aspect at the moment. And I feel you have to read that. And then I said it yesterday in the IR, Elliot, and I'm going to say it a million times. The word you're going to hear from me today is simplicity and reference points. And the two are intertwined. When you're going through this psychologically complex moment, which is understandable, by the way. I'm not going to say to anybody, you can't feel like this. You need to relax. Although I did tweet that. You need to relax. But you know why I was saying it? Just because I'm trying to say it to myself, You need to relax. You need to chill out. When you have those moments, you almost have to go back to basics and have a far more simplistic approach to a game. And once you do that, you get people back on side, and I just think we didn't quite read that moment correctly. And I do think this psychological, emotional aspect is a really important one at the moment for everybody. If I was back in my non-league days, I'll tell you what, I'd cancel training tomorrow night, where we used to train Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I'd take all the lads out for a curry. That's what I would do. And I think we need to take the pressure away, everybody, because we're not going to win in this environment. It's not going to happen. I don't care who you are. I don't care how good we are. I don't care how deep the squad is. We need a collective curry, a night out and a few beers to relax a little bit and remind ourselves of where we are, what we're doing, what we do well, and how we can get back to it.
Be excited to watch the players throwing up at the training ground the next morning, but teach their own. Look, there's a few things that I want to say about this. I tend to pull punches. I've gotten in this weird place now where I don't want to pull punches anymore. My feeling right now, if you're just taking my temperature right now, is at this moment, I am not convinced we're going to go on and do it. It is the first time I've thought we might not win the title since August, when I picked us to win it. And currently right now, unless something changes, I'm concerned. My biggest source of optimism, and I want to say this clearly, my biggest source of optimism all along has been that I believe this is a 90-plus point team, and it is a team that is better than everybody else. My biggest source of optimism right now is that nobody is very good and nobody can chase us down because everybody's deeply flawed. We used to get chased down by a T-1000 Terminator. Now we're currently being chased down by like a T-72 Terminator, okay? So if we're going to go on and do it, I still have optimism in part because who's better? We're still the best team, is my belief. But here's the reality. There's a saying about how you go bankrupt. I don't remember who it's from. They say, how do you go bankrupt? Slowly at first, then all at once. Don't ignore flashing warning signs when they're flashing, okay? We didn't get a sudden and unexpected injury against United. We played poorly against Forest. Damn the XG. We played poorly against Liverpool. And in my opinion, since the North London derby, we have largely played poorly in the Premier League and have lost some of our principles and some of our consistency. And I think Mikel, to Tim's point, is scuffling a little bit to figure out the partnerships he needs on the pitch to get the results at one end. And players at the other end, I think, are starting to feel the pressure having to keep goals out to keep wins in our pocket. Now, again, I think we have the talent to be that 90-plus point team, and I think we still very easily can go on and do it. But unless something changes, no. And all we have to do is look at Liverpool. Liverpool in September were already planning trophy parades in September. But the performances were indicative of a slump that was coming, and it came, and by November, they were miles back. I don't want it to happen to us. So, Tim, to wrap this initial section, it doesn't have to be doom and gloom. We're top of the Champions League. We're in the semifinal of the League Cup, probably in the final by this time next week or 2 weeks. We're still in the FA Cup, and we're still favorites to win the Premier League. But if you don't respond to warning signs, and if you keep saying they don't matter, if you keep hand-waving a 0-0 against Liverpool, then hand-wave a 0-0 against Forest, and hand-wave a loss to United, eventually you'll be hand-waving the fact that we're 1 point back or 2 points back. It can happen very quickly if you don't arrest the slide. So is it fair to say this is at least an inflection point where we can turn some things around and make some adjustments that make us look like the 90-point team I believed we were? Or am I just leaning into a little bit of my emotional anxiety, which is, by the way, my identity? That can be the case too.
No. This has to be like a line in the sand moment. Yeah. This has to be like where things change a little bit. I actually spoke to Renee Slagers, the Arsenal women manager, about something very similar recently. There was a game they played against Aston Villa, and they were messing around with the ball at centre back again and again and again, and not progressing it, and they got caught. And I kind of said, was that like a line in the sand moment? Because it feels like the team's played differently since then. And she kind of said, yeah, it was a little bit. And this feels like that. And to Clive's point about going back to basics, it kind of reminds me of, remember how we played at Everton away after the Wolves game? Like the Wolves game felt like that was scary. That was, we got away with it, but we know we got away with it. And we went to Everton and we kind of overcorrected. It was, we are not giving this ball away. We are keeping this ball for 90 minutes and we're going to win this game. And we're going back to basics, and then we'll turn the kind of risk dial up. I'm not saying that's the exact way we have to do things necessarily. Maybe it is, I don't know. But it feels like we're due another kind of back to basics performance. Not being sloppy, not giving stuff away, not being unprofessional out of possession. And like the attack, like, because if we don't concede, the worst we can do is 0-0, right? Which we've done a couple of times recently, and it's not that satisfactory. But I also feel like, is that 2 games in a row we've made like 4 subs before the hour mark?
Yeah,
and they've been like quite emotional substitutions, I think. And I think that transmits a little bit as well. I mean, first of all, I think it kind of shows that the manager's grasping a little bit, but I think it also creates it creates a tension and an anxiety. Going back to Clive's kind of air steward or air stewardess kind of analogy, like I don't generally buy the stuff about like, oh, Arteta's frantic on the touchline and all of that. Like, I definitely don't buy that. But the kind of, right, I'm making 4 subs on 55 minutes, like that does transmit a bit of an energy, I think, and that does transmit a bit of a, oh, we're changing like half the team in one go and we're doing it again. So there isn't the shock value in it anymore. And it's just like, that feels a little bit desperate and it feels a bit tetchy. And I think to Clive's point, we've all got to calm down a little bit. It's easier said than done.
Yeah, and we'll come on to the subs later, but I will also say that, like, it's lots of different bodies, but it's not a lot of changes to the system because by and large, we're making like subs, just different bodies on to do the same stuff, which I'm not sure is necessarily something that's worked, but we'll get to that. Clive, you're going to like this because I'm going to say, I don't care about the lineup. There are going to be thoughts about the lineup. The only thing that I would say is, while Gyökeres has by no means been pulling up trees, picking Gabriel Jesus to start a second game in a week is an interesting decision, but the lineup is certainly good enough. And here's the evidence of that. For 30 minutes, we absolutely spanked them. For 30 minutes, it was one team in this game, which makes this game harder to analyze because any analysis you want to make, oh, he shouldn't have played this guy, shouldn't have done that, or this lineup, you have to explain away 30 minutes of us playing like the much better team we are. And I have to say, United were very good against City. Very good. This is not a game where I thought United were good. This is a game where I think Arsenal were poor after taking the lead and sabotaged ourselves at every turn. And I think there's a meme going around, the lead pipe meme. It's a guy in a hoodie with Arsenal over his head, holding a lead pipe called Arsenal, hitting a guy called Arsenal. And like, I do think Arsenal's biggest title rival, to my earlier point, isn't City or Villa. It's Arsenal, because we are better than them. And we just need to realize that. But so how do you explain the first 30? Let's at least take a minute to unpack a 30-minute period of the game where there was only one team in it and we rightfully took the lead.
Yeah, we are better than them, but we're not that much better than everybody that we can afford to make stupid mistakes with selection and with on-ball ability. right? So we are not sitting here with a group of superstar attackers just turn up, pull their socks up and stick one in the top corner. We have to be right as a group, and for the first 30 minutes, we were right. And very much a clock end game for me. So I think I couldn't see all the detail of all of the intricacies of the passes, etc. But I felt we were really focused off the ball. So I don't think we have a defender's identity. I think we have an off the ball identity. And off the ball, we were excellent.
Okay, better way to put it.
We were excellent. And when I see things like Trossard chasing men down and Odegaard making a slide tackle in the first 10 minutes, I'm thinking, yes, mate, because they're our weakest players. If they're sliding to the floor to make a challenge, I can tell you what the team talk was. We're going to pin them in. We're going to hold them in. We're going to wear them down, create waves of attack until we score. And then we scored. And I don't know about you, Tim, where you were sitting, if you could feel that goal coming. I couldn't really up to a point. When it came, it was like, oh, we scored. That's nice. We're playing well. We've got a goal in the period where we played well. Great, But then it starts. And you could almost feel the moment the fear kicks in to everybody in that ground. And it was the moment when Mbeumo ran through. He split the centre-backs who were just a little bit wide, and he ran through, and we caught him up. But it's like that moment was just picked on a scar. And this is the moment when you need to be big. This is the moment where your big players need to be big, because this is it now. This is it. We're 1-0 up. What do we do? And that moment, I think it made us smaller rather than we get bigger. And what Manchester United started to do then, Elliot, and this is down Tim's end, so he would have seen it. They started to control the game through their goalkeeper, take their time, slow the game down. What does that do? It creates an anxiety in the ground. Come on, we got to get after them. We just conceded the time. We need another goal. We're not happy with 1-0. We need another goal. We need to get to 2-0 so I can go for my halftime drinks and I can have a laugh. That's basically what it is. And the anxiety started to really come over us and over the team. And I think that's the moment that we need to manage. So when normally, Elliot, I am not one for lineups, but I am one for balance.
Yeah.
So when I see a lineup, I look at the balance of that lineup. And I personally couldn't see enough reference points in offensive areas on the pitch, apart from one on our right wing, when I knew before the game started they were going to have Dorgu and Shaw on that side, which eventually is going to be double fullbacks on that side. So for me, the game was always going to have to be won somewhere else. And you need other reference points to make sure you can split that team apart, that back line apart. And I felt we didn't get our balance right. I didn't think we had the reference points. I didn't think we had the big players stepping up at the key moments. And I think the anxiety made us look quite fatigued. And so when I got home last night, I thought, I'll have a look a little bit at this game. I just watched the goals. Mate, did we have lead boots on or something? We look so fatigued around that ball, and it's sort of... So that's my worry, Elliot, the fatigue. And by the way, I don't want anyone to say, everyone's playing the same games, blah, blah, blah. We're playing more games than most teams, apart from City, actually, and because they've actually got the same amount of games as us, hence inconsistencies. But the one team that is the freshest team in the league is Manchester United. They are the form team in the league. They are the best team in the league right now. It might be hard to say those words, but they are, and they're more energetic, and they've got something new for which to focus on. I'm afraid we didn't have enough to overcome them.
Then I'm sorry, I have to say something. You're right, but then you have to make business decisions, and you have to start orienting yourself around which competition you think is most important. So you don't play Saka against Chelsea and then Nani against Forest. And you don't play Zubimendi in every one of those games so that he's mentally just all over the place and finally hits a wall in his first season in the English Premier League.
Agreed on Zubimendi,
and you,
100%.
And you don't play Gabriel Jesus in consecutive games when who knows if that's what his body is really up for. And you make some decisions around your lineup to give you the freshness in key areas. So I think that yes, we are playing too many games, but our whole thesis of how we built this squad is let's have 22 players. Let's have 2 first squads. in part to protect from injury and in part to run the course. So if that thesis is correct, because I always said that's the wrong thesis. The right thesis is a small group of supremely talented players, and you know who your best players are, and you play them in the key competitions. I've been willing to accept that my view is not correct, but if the other view is correct, then you have to orient your lineups and your use of those players in such a way that you prioritize the competitions that you want to win. So, Clive, I don't, nothing you're saying is anything I'm disagreeing with for the record. But yes, United have the benefit through stinking of only having to worry about playing once a week.
Yeah.
But we should have the benefit of being thoughtful about how we build fitness towards the games we need to win too.
Yeah. So obviously this is a post-Manchester United podcast, so I'm focusing on them.
Yeah, that's fair.
And we made 7 changes in the week. And we were all praising how good we looked against the Italian league leaders, who then went away on Friday night and won about 6-2, by the way. And so...
Well, everybody, once they play us, football feels very easy.
And so we were... The thing with rotation is, rotation is absolutely brilliant when you win. When you don't win, you question it. So that's why I focus on the balance of the team and what you're trying to achieve. When you're playing Manchester United, you have to decide what you are. You have to recognise who they are. You know, they are somebody. If you make them feel comfortable in your environment, they will remember how big they are. They will. You have to make them feel uncomfortable. And I don't think we had the right people on the pitch to make them feel uncomfortable a consistent period of time. And I generally think we misread the opportunity on offer for us for a length of time for the whole game. And I think the manager tried to change it and he lurched into that. I've never seen 4 subs before him do that. I just sort of went, oh my gosh, is it 4? We all are talking about who's off, who's on. Lost a bit of track for a moment. That tells me he was angry. That tells me he was searching. That tells me he was looking to do exactly what we should have done, which is have pace in wide areas and really attack them. And hey, look, you learn as you go along, right?
Yeah, and it is the case, unfortunately, that when things don't go right, all of us are guilty of this, by the way. I'll blame myself since I'm talking about myself, but we will tend to look in the area, we'll revert to our priors as to why things may not be going, right? So if you have a player you don't like, you're going to stare at them a little harder. If you're a skeptic of the manager, if you think rotation is the issue, if you think substitutions or lineups, you're inevitably going to go to your priors first. And it's important to be able to find balance in that. Just like, for example, everybody thinks the attack is a question, but it is also fair to point out that we are in a run where we are not keeping the goals out at the rate that we were earlier. When we went on that great run earlier this season, it was all clean sheets, right? That's been harder to come by, and Tim's been calling that out. Tim, I do think that the out of possession side of the game was good to start the game and faded, but I want to ask you something about our attacking dynamic, and Clive, I'll bring you back on this one too, because I think it's interesting. People have been noticing, and I'm inclined to agree, that a lot of how we attack often winds up with the fullbacks, in particular Timber, the right side of fullback, being in the half space, being in the 4th lane, being the guy who gets into the box or deepest, and how we're utilizing our attacking resources, who the players are that wind up being in the hurtful positions. And I think it is interesting because I think for me, when I watch us attack, first of all, I think one of the ways we used to create a lot of goals is with high turnovers, right? Through our press and turning teams over. But when I watch us attack from open play, open buildup, I don't think I see a clear plan of how we're going to execute those attacks in a way to create good combinations and get our most dangerous players into goal-scoring positions. Now, that's easy for me to just say with words when you get on a pitch against a team that's defensively organized. It's a lot harder than that. Do you have any issues with like the extent to which maybe the ball winds up at the feet of a Urian Timber in the half space, that he's running into the channel and it's Saka out on the touchline, or any of the orientation, organization of our attacking play? What is the plan in attack? And does that aspect of it concern you in any respect?
Yeah, a little bit. Like William Saliba's getting the ball out wide quite a lot on the right as well. And
yeah, by the way, so that was a big moment. I'll just call it out. Bruno loses it. Odegaard plays it to Rice beautifully. Rice is on the counter and opts to play it to the wide open player. I don't know that Rice knows the wide open player he's about to play it to is William Saliba, of all people. Otherwise, it's a clear goal scoring chance. And no discredit to Saliba by the way. But that is an interesting point that you're making. So sorry, I just wanted to call that one out. That was the 15th minute.
So I get it in one respect, but I want those players to be a decoy so that someone like Saka does get it, or one of the centre forwards or something, or the other winger. I mean, ultimately, whether that's it or not, like whether like that is the problem or a problem. I tell you what's a big problem. Look how many goals our attackers have scored in the last kind of month or two. Like, that's a big problem. Whether it's because the fullbacks are getting the ball in the wrong areas, or because those like clearly our attacking players, it would be an almighty coincidence if all of them have just lost form at the same time. I kind of don't believe that. I don't believe that's going to be the issue. And even when someone like Saka is kind of underperforming, I think there's got to be alarm bells ringing there a little bit. There are other attackers, to be honest, I do think are a bit streaky. I'm not sure we have a really good number 9, to be honest. Madueke, he's. I'm not rating his Jovino impression at the moment of just running the ball out of play quite a lot. Like, we have quite a lot of streaky players in that forward line, except Saka, and so when I'm looking at like Saka underperforming, Odegaard underperforming, it's a bit like there's something wider going on here, isn't there? And our open play goal creation, open play chance creation, is not where it should be for a team that's as dominant as we are. Is that because we're too risk averse? Again, I'm not sure I believe that, because we weren't in the opening half an hour of this game. To your point, like, they didn't go out like a team that had been told, don't make that pass, like come backwards or whatever. Maybe we can play a little bit with the risk-reward dial, but I don't know, it feels a little bit like this game, a bit like the Wolves game, had a big psychological element to it.
I totally agree with that.
I think this is a time it looked to me like they got the yips. A little bit.
I hate that analysis, but I agree that it's correct.
Yeah, I hate it as well, because people just say it every single time you don't win, and I think
they're not confident, and then you win. Well, look, they're confident now, but like in this case, it looked like
this time, and it just means people are going to throw it at them more and more, and people are going to say that all the time, regardless. So there's something going on there in an attacking sense that means we're not getting the best from players. My own analysis is probably, like I said earlier, but again, this is a prior for me to your point. I just think there are too many there. I think there are too many there, and you want to, the game on Saturday, the women's game, on a one-off basis, this worked. They had no choices. All their attackers were injured, and they went out and they knew they couldn't even make an attacking substitution. It gave them a lot of clarity in the game, whereas what I'm seeing, obviously that doesn't work over the long term, but what I'm seeing at the moment is just like too many cooks in attack. I really am. And I think it's really stopping us from getting any kind of chemistry going.
Clive?
Yeah, I mean, I've been on this for a while, haven't I, about the balance of relationships and working in pairs, right? So we're playing Manchester United with Maguire and Martinez. We've gone up there with Jesus and Odegaard as our 9 and 10. That, to me, is the wrong pair for that opposition. You need to impose yourself on those two physically, right? You need to put yourself on them. I think what's happened is we're losing some of the pairs that were working. Our left-hand side has changed continuously. Our 9 and 10 is changing continuously. Our double pivot is fine, more or less fine. Our centre-backs are fine. And our right back with Saka is fine, although we can all question why Jurien Timber is finding himself at centre-forward continuously and having to defend at the same time. Are we just trying to break him? Could anybody else stand at centre-forward? Maybe a midfielder, attacking midfielders, or a centre-forward? Stand at centre-forward? So for me, it's all about maintaining the balance for the day that you need. And that's a physical and technical and emotional balance. That's important. And I felt in this game, we weren't physical enough for long enough. We didn't have those players on the pitch. And Manchester United grew on the back of that. You have to think about this team a lot more in twos and those relationships at work. As soon as you can do that, you can make 7 or 8 changes. And by the way, I think he's done really well at making the changes, because we're still winning. Not in the league so much, but in the cups, for example. But I think when you come to your league game, you need to go to what really, really works. That's really automatic, because the level is higher. This is, whether you laugh at them or not, this is Manchester United, Big Six club. The level is higher. The badge is bigger. You need to go with what really works, and that's simplistic. A reference point at centre forward, decide what you do at 10, speed on the outside, and work from the base of your team, and make sure that people in the attackers in the attacking areas of the pitch take attacking responsibility. They do not defer it. They do not come away. They stay there and they take the attacking responsibility, because that's what their contracts are telling us. Right? So just simplistic, simplify, go back to it. The shape rotations are lovely. The reason why Timber is in the way sometimes, because he's there too early and he's there too long, standing in those areas. The timing of arrival is what really destroys teams. I think we're too static. We're in position too early, and we're not fluid enough. Hence, we're messing about with our food at the base of our team. We're not getting the ball forward because we're already standing there. I'm where the manager told me to stand, but am I really offering a target, or am I just there based on what the clipboard said before the game? That's where I think we are at the moment.
Yeah, and Clive, I'll just stay with you for a second. Football analysis is best when you can point to things you can measure or things you can see, and I think it is worse when you leap to conclusions about things that are amorphous and impossible to assess. But I really struggle to explain what happened after we took the lead without going to some degree of mentality and anxiety. We scored the goal. And by the way, I know it's a poor goal in the sense that it's an own goal. It's a well-worked goal by Bukayo Saka. Like, he does a really nice job. He beats his man. He's out on the wing. It works his way to him. His little chip pass to Odegaard is good. Odegaard, I think, does the right thing, sending it towards goal with not a beautifully struck shot, but it's a nice moment. By the way, before that, Zubimendi, who will unfortunately come to in a minute, did have a fantastic header, well saved. Should be noted because he had a chance to be a hero before we scored the first goal, and he winds up as a GOAT. But then we go from 87% passing and the lion's share of possession. From the time we scored till halftime, we passed at a 65% success rate. Now, pass completion percentage is not like the most advanced analytics, but you know what it is a measure of? Sloppiness, carelessness. For a team that wants to play on transition, you know the best way to help Manchester United are not a good team building play. They are not. They're not a good team in possession, but they got speed to burn and they got players that can play people in. You know how you help a team play in transition? You give them the ball. You just give the ball away. And we passed at 65% for no reason. 1 minute after we scored, they're in. Chance for Bruno. 3 minutes after we scored, they're in. Chance for Bruno. 7 minutes after we scored, Zubimendi gives it away. They're in. They score. And that comes from a period where we were playing with our food at the back. And you said this on the IR, Clive, in your voice note. We just reverted to playing in the wrong areas. We got the lead. I think we are a bad team playing with the lead, by the way. I can point to the Wolves game. When we went, remember what Mikel said at full time of the Wolves game, that he was disgusted with how we played when we took the lead, that it was inexcusable the way we played in that period. We became craven. We became passive. We gave the ball away. We saw it against Bournemouth. We had a 3-1 lead. It should be nice and comfortable. We give the ball away. We give it to them. We step back. Krupi scores a goal. Reminds me a little bit, by the way, of the Cunha goal. Like, just in terms of the way there's space in the center of the pitch for a player to step onto a shot. But I don't like what we do when we get a lead. It feels like mission accomplished. And so I can't explain it. I need your help understanding why we're playing the wrong places the wrong way when we take a lead.
Very simple. So obviously you're a data man and you can quote the data and it's absolutely great. I try to look at the why as a solution. Mate, we stop moving. We stop moving. Simple as that. We stop moving. Right? So, and then what happens then? The heart of your team drops back. Me and Tim talk about this a lot with the women's team. Our best ball players are probably too close to our centre backs. And so the heart of the women's team seems to be a little bit deeper on occasions. The same with us. Our best ball player is Saliba. Then it's Zubimendi. They always want to show. They always want to show. So and then what happens then? You're taking the emphasis of the game back towards you. This is where you need leadership, right? You need to say, no, we got to go. We got to go in behind them. We got to go. We got to play from there, play seconds. But we didn't have our reference point up top. Jesus holding the ball up in Inter Milan is one thing. Oh, I'm sorry. Back to GPS time, I couldn't find him again. Right? So, And he's not where I want him to be when we're under stress. When we're under stress, what do I need? I need structure. I need ability to refer to you. So people who are on ball reference points, like Martin Odegaard, brilliant at this. He is somebody, when we're under a bit of stress, I'll give it to me, lads. I'll have 5 passes with you, 5 passes with you, 5 passes with you. He didn't do that on this occasion. You know, and I want him to do that. I actually wanted him to play in this game for this exact reason, to manage our stress. I knew it was coming. Get on the ball, 1 million touches, please, because that makes us feel that we're in control. I don't care if they're simplistic passes. Just get on it, get it moving, circulate, and control the psychology of the game. When it flipped, when we scored, it flipped to them, and they started to control it, and they started to waste a bit of time on the ball, slow it down. And, mate, that was it. This was a psychological battle that they won. They won it. It's not a football battle. If it's footballers, we've got a better team. We've got 1 million more points than them. But this is a psychological battle, and they won it. They won it, and we have to accept that and have that conversation. You know, but what we do when we're under a bit of pressure, where do we go? How do we react? This is the barrier to success, I promise you.
Yeah. Well, let's just quickly touch on the moment where they equalize. Tim, it's a terrible error from Zubimendi. I do think moments analysis of football matches can be bad, but to Mikel Arteta's point, he said this was a moments game. And I think that's right in some ways, but I think it misses the point in other ways. No offense, Mikel. Like, the moments decided this game, but there were clear issues with how we played that even had we gone on to win would still be that little flashing warning light that I said. So let's just deal with and dismiss this moment. Zubimendi makes an error. It's a terrible error. It's the kind we haven't seen much of. We've shipped some dumb goals. I'm actually a lot more concerned about the 2 chances they fashioned before that, where they played the ball right through us to create clear chances while our players were asleep and giving the ball away. But would your analysis of the Zubimendi error just be individual? How do you assess that moment?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, and by the way, I think it's the same with the second goal. I mean, it's a worldie from Dorgu, but the way we started the second half was dreadful, like absolutely dreadful start to the second half. And
to Mikel's credit, he was honest about that and agreed.
Yeah. And in this one, like, you can kind of look around it. We have the ball and we decide not to go forwards, and Odegaard doesn't really drop to receive it. He doesn't come and get it, which again, to your point, Clive, we were under a bit of stress. They could create a couple of chances. That's, you know, people talk a lot, and I understand it about Odegaard, like where he receives the ball and dropping back between the centre backs and stuff like that. But at that time, yeah,
we needed it.
I want
exactly,
because that's just a stress release valve, isn't it? It's like, let's give it to our most secure player and not mess around for a couple of minutes. And in 5-10 minutes, we can worry about him perhaps playing a through ball or something. But let's keep this under control. And Zubimendi, I mean, you know, trying to pop that off first time, that looked like an anxious decision to me. I think he's got time to take a touch and set himself and make sure it travels there. But like, he looks scared. He looks under stress at that particular moment as well. But there were things we didn't have to be playing with the ball there anyway. I think we had options for forward passes. Odegaard could have dropped in, and we could have just, you know, come out, made the game boring for a couple of minutes, and just kind of got our foot back on it. So it's obviously Zubimendi's mistake. Like, there's no way we'd look at that passage of play in any sort of detail if that pass just lands. But yeah, it was kind of symptomatic. And to be honest, I think that mistake could have been made by any number of our players at that moment in time. When your passing percentage is dropping by 20%, that's not one player. That's everyone, you know, crapping themselves, frankly.
Yep. Clive, you want to add to that?
Yeah, Tim's absolutely bang on. Zubimendi is the one that actually moved to receive it. He was brave enough not to mark himself, but actually, I'm going to drop out and come and get it and try to get some passing movements going. And he suffered for it. He suffered for being brave. Everyone else up the pitch standing next to their opponent. Mate, I see you, and I guarantee you, I do the video rewatch, the manager will see him. Right? So I know I think when we pick this baller team with Jesus, Trossard, Odegaard in your midfield, they need to show for the ball.
Yeah.
Because we don't expect them to out-jump Harry Maguire and out-muscle Dallo, for example. But, mate, your feet are sweet. Show for the ball. Because then we start to move them around. If you're going to stand next to somebody, then what are we doing? Seriously, what are we trying to achieve? So when Saliba looks up, he's thinking, well, where do I go? Everyone's marked. Oh, Marty's dropped out. Okay, I'll knock it to him. But where was the next pass? Where was the next pass forward? Where was somebody? And I come back to reference point. Where was that person to say, give it to me in here, I'll hold it and get us out of this area? Where is the manager saying, we don't want to be playing here at the moment. We need to be playing up there because we're unsettled. So in fact, you can feel these moments. I mean, Tim, I know you felt it. You could sense it coming, couldn't you? I could sense that goal coming more than our goal coming. Even though we were dominant, you could sense it. You could sense something's going to happen. Then we'd have to react to that. But the problem was that Manchester United scored a worldy second goal that was beautifully crafted, and that was not in the script. Because a part of us felt that Man United might score, but not score 2, and certainly not score 3. And so now we're into a situation where the start of the second half has maybe dictated a number of changes. And that tells me something, that some strong words were had at half-time. At time, you've got 10 minutes, mate, and nothing changed. And he said, right, I'll show you I'm serious. Bang. Emotional, 4 subs. Off you come. And so, hence my line at the start of the show. I hope the lads are all going out for curry this week, because I reckon there have been a lot of harsh words had in that dressing room.
Something's a little wrong.
Yeah.
Something's a little wrong. Declan Rice knows it. Don't put it on the people on social media, or the podcasters, the YouTubers, or your friends in the WhatsApp chat who you think are the anxious ones, because Declan Rice walks off the pitch at Forest and says every fucking time, right into the camera. I mean, he's entitled, by the way. I got no problem with our star player expressing frustration. My point isn't to pick on him. Every fucking time. What does that mean? That means that somewhere in his mind, the words every fucking time came up because he feels that every time that there's a big moment, we let it slip or something goes wrong. I'm not saying that's what I believe. I'm saying that's what he said. Something's not quite right. Okay? And was it the Villa game where we came out and stormed them after halftime and I said, whatever Mikel said in that halftime talk, you should bottle it up and use it constantly, spray it all over his body? I think it's a little bit worrying that we went in 1-1 with an inferior United team at home with the title charge in mind and came out and got blown away at the start of the second half. 35% of the ball. Not in the game. And needing 4 subs at 57 minutes to try to get some momentum back. That's not a great sign that there was no response available. And it's not just about emotion. The other team gets to do things too, but that's an inferior Manchester United team. They outplayed us in midfield. Look at their midfield. Casemiro, Mainu, and Fernandes. We have Declan Rice, Martin Odegaard, and Zubimendi. Something's not right. Martin Odegaard passed the ball at 67% yesterday. He had 14 completed passes. I think he's got his wires crossed right now. Martin Odegaard likes to come back between the center backs, pick up the ball, and bring it forward. He's not. He's going and standing a little further forward. I think it's become muddy in his mind now. The things he does naturally that work for him, clearly something's not working because Martin Odegaard doesn't pass the ball at 67% and play only 14 passes in a game. We're going to talk about the midfield. Yep. Go ahead.
I did a little bit of rewatching this morning, and I don't know if you...
Please, yeah.
I just want to bring one thing, because my thoughts on Odegaard are out there, right? So I'm not going to keep digging him out. But what I've noticed
it was
a lot
poor
more...
performance, and the whole midfield, by the way, had a poor performance.
Yeah, but people will get there in their own time. So what I think is, I'm watching him doing a lot more coaching than playing. He's really focused on everyone else's job, because he's a real captain, right? He's a real leader. But actually, at this moment in time, I need you to lead on the ball. And if you watch the game again, please, when you see it, you'll see what I mean. It's like, you stand there, you go here. Come on, come up. I don't want you to coach anymore, because I think the team understands our philosophy. Just need you to play. Just need you to play. And by the way, he's not alone. Jesus, come and play. Come and get on the ball. Show that rat-a-tat you had in Milan, where you were unbelievable. Where was you? Trossard started bright, faded a bit. I need you to play. I need you to get on it. This is what we need from you. And so this is the messages we've got to get back to, playing the game the game plan that we had. We don't need you to coach anymore, Mark. We need you to play. Really important that you play and own that position, own that role, and start playing key passes into the right parts of the pitch. This is not about talent. This is about your psychological ability to implement your talent under pressure. And this is where we are as a team at the moment. And we struggled in this game and we lost that battle.
Yeah, that's well said. Where's the technical security? I mean, at some point in a game, when you're the better team, when you're the home team, when you're the dominant team, get your foot on the ball and keep it. Clive, your words always ring in my ears. Can you get to 5 passes?
Yeah.
You know, where's the technical security? And how can it go so quickly? How can you have 73% of the ball for 30 minutes and all the field tilt? At one point, we had all the touches in the final third. They had none. None. And then went to pieces. I mean, it is hard to explain without going to mentality. And I do think there's a point at which you're trying to win the title with every pass you play, with every shot you take, with every tackle you make. You are literally trying to pass the ball to win the title, to shoot the ball to win the title, because for 3 years you've been runners-up. And you know you deserved a title over that time. You've been good enough. But you can't win the title with every pass and every shot in every game. And there has to be a way to ease that pressure valve. So we got to get into some individuals. We got to get into some of what happened in the second half and how the game came to a pretty unfortunate finish, I think it's fair to say. But there's nothing that will cheer you up and help you get ready for more of this lighthearted conversation, like learning about the brands that are going to change your life. And one of them is Factor brand. Factor is food, and we all love food. The code is ArsenalVision50 off, 50% off your first Factor box, and plus a free breakfast for a year. And we'll tell you more about that offer in a moment. But look, I spent most of my life as a single man because I got married later in life. And I can tell you that one of the things I hated was trying to figure out what I was going to eat. There was a lot of eating less healthy than I should, last minute decision-making, ordering in, spending a lot of money on ordering food. What you want is healthy food. You want food that works with your lifestyle, whether it's trying to add muscle or lose weight, if you're on a GLP-1, whatever the case is, you want good, healthy, nutritional food with no cleanup, no frustration, no preparation. That's what Factor is. Lean proteins, colorful vegetables, whole foods, healthy fats, the stuff you'd make if you had the time. Look, I like to cook for company, but not every day. This is no refined sugars, no artificial sweeteners. It's food. It shows up. It's fresh. It's never frozen. It's ready in 2 minutes with no prep, no cleanup, and no mental load. So whatever your goals for food, Factor is the solution. Head to factormeals.com/ArsenalVision50 off. We'll put that in the show notes. Use code ArsenalVision50 off to get 50% off your first Factor box plus free breakfast for a year. Offer only valid for new Factor customers with code and qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchase. Make healthier eating easy with Factor. And NordVPN is a VPN that lets you watch all the stuff wherever you are. The days of the internet being geo-locked are over for good if you use NordVPN. NordVPN is the way to get around the geo-locked videos that you can't watch and everyone's telling you, oh, it's the best video, or if you want to watch the match reviews of the day show, maybe not this weekend per se, but many weekends this season, actually, it's been extraordinary. If you want threat protection, because occasionally you're going on to streams that you might otherwise not want to be on because they can damage your computer, you get threat protection from Nord, and highly, highly rated for speed, which is important. It's not going to throttle your speed. You put it on your phone, your tablet, whatever it is, it's an app, you click, you say, I want to browse here, and boom, you're around those geo-locks that try to lock you out. So NordVPN.com/ArsenalVision, NordVPN.com/ArsenalVision, NordVPN.com/ArsenalVision is the code. Get 4 bonus months on top of a huge discount off your plan and 30-day money-back guarantee, so it's risk-free. NordVPN.com/ArsenalVision. Do it now, Clive. Is that enough of that?
Indeed.
Okay. Tim, we referenced the subs. I want to get into a little bit of individual analysis here. I want to stick with the attack for a minute, though, because you referenced it. And look, Sky Sports, it will come as no surprise to you, put a graphic up on the screen that has been shared widely, and it is horrible use of data, and it has been incredibly manipulated, okay? They put up Bukayo Saka, Victor Gyökeres, Gabriel Martinelli, Nani Madueke, and Leo Trossard's goal return. But for Saka, they used all comps. For Gyökeres, they used non-penalty goals in Premier League. For Gabriel Martinelli, they used appearances in the Premier League. For Nani Madueke, appearances in the Premier League. And for Trossard, all comps, okay? And it's all appearances, so it doesn't even tell you the number of minutes. So it's all mixed and matched. But even if I strip out the P hacking they're doing, the data hacking they're doing to try to make it look worse, it's still No goals for Saka in 13 appearances in all comps. No non-penalty goals for Gyökeres in last 11 Premier League appearances. No goals for Martinelli last 13 Premier League appearances. No goals for Nani Madueke in 25 Premier League appearances or assists, by the way. 1 goal for Leandro Trossard in the last 11 appearances in all comps. At some point, no matter what fancy tactical stuff Clive's got in his brain that he can communicate with us, no matter how we can break down games, someone has to do what Dorgu did or what Cunha does. What Odegaard did, by the way, I think against Brighton, right? When he smashed it in from the edge of the box, what as it did against Spurs. It's all well and good that we have set pieces, and I think they're sustainable. It's all well and good to bundle in own goals, who I think is our leading non-penalty goal scorer now, or bundle in goals from corners like Marino did. That's great. But you do have to have some quality with the end product from the key players that are paid handsomely to put the ball in the back of the net. And I can't get away from the fact that whatever you want to say about Mikel Arteta, our system, right now, those players are not delivering.
Yeah, simple as that.
Okay, moving
on. But yeah, like I said earlier, though, I do think it's unlikely that they've all just stopped at the same time, that they're all just simultaneously going through things. That made me think, like, where have our goals come from recently? Who's been scoring them? And it's like Rice got 2 against Bournemouth, didn't he? And Gabriel got 1. And then in the Chelsea game, it's Zubimendi and Gyökeres gets 1 in that game. And Ben White from a set piece. Like, we definitely have an issue creating from open play, like, without doubt. Whether that's because opponents have figured us out a bit as well, I think that could definitely be a bit of it as well. I just keep coming back to the fact that we have, I think, a collection of really good attackers. Saka's the only one that's close to elite, though. And ultimately, you need those game breakers. And our game breaker is Nicolas Jover at the moment. It's like our game breakers in the dugout, not on the pitch. Like, how many times Man City 1-0, Haaland, Liverpool 1-0, Salah, Arsenal 1-0, Henry. We just don't have that player. And I think we've kind of tried to augment it by having lots of really good players, but who still aren't quite of that level. And I still think, and don't get me wrong, like, those players, they're at a premium and they're generally not available. And I don't think there were any available in the summer. And I even think it was like the Alvarez links, for example, as well. I think good player, but is it 1-0 Alvarez like 8 times a season? Probably not. Like, it feels like that's another very good attacker. We have loads of those. We have too many of them. And I just can't get away from the fact that we just don't have that. Who, like, if you're a betting person, who do you bet on to score for Arsenal at the moment? It would be one of the defenders, or maybe Mikel Merino. It would be probably going to come from a set piece. And yeah, I feel like we've stacked a lot of very good players, but I also think that's creating a bit of an issue, because there's so much chopping and changing between games, in games. Maybe in a couple of months it'll all click and we'll get used to all this rotation and we'll be much stronger for it. I hope so. But at the moment it feels a bit like, I think what would have made a much, much bigger difference in the summer would have been being able to get one elite attacker rather than buying 3 quite good ones.
Yeah, you can only say the same thing so many times before people get annoyed, and I've probably worn out my welcome already. Like, I don't think Moneyball works in football. I don't think we can create him in the aggregate works. Like, we don't need the superstar. We can have 6 really good players. Like, no, I don't think so. Goal scoring has been a persistent issue for this team, basically in every single instance and iteration under Mikel Arteta, with one exception, from January to May. We all know it. We scored 91 goals. It's excellent. And by the way, I do want to be clear. This open play goal stuff, people will be like, oh, do the set pieces not count? They absolutely count. We should not dismiss them, and they are sustainable. That's why we could win the league and the Champions League and the League Cup and the FA Cup, because we have that extra something special. But just like if we were shit at set pieces, we would say we need to stop being shit at set pieces. We're a little bit shit from open play right now. We need to not be. And Clive, like, I do think there are some people And by the way, when I say some people, I'm not saying on social media. I mean, like people I talk to, friends of mine, reasonable people who think we do have one star player in attack, and that it would be fair to suggest that the star player in attack, that it's okay to ask for more from that star player. Everybody's going to have a different place to point a finger of responsibility. But what do you think of that? That Bukayo Saka has to wear a bit more of a cape for us because the return end product wise, even though he's involved in so much we do right, the end product still could come up.
Yeah, so if we're going to do that, we have to enable him to do that. And so we go, because our best player is also our best creator. And he could be our best scorer if we allowed him to do less creating and more scoring. That means position he has to slightly change to get closer to the goal. I think this, when we were talking in the last few weeks about this, and we were talking about, I'm not worried about us yet, but when the stress comes, I am more worried about us yet. Even that Villa game was wonderful. You remember the first goal? Set piece header, bundled in. After that, we were unbelievable. So the ability to break open games is an issue for us. So when I always think that someone has a default personality, right? So Trossard, default-wise, he's a creator that can score. When under stress, I'm going to create for you. I can beat my man, I can put a ball in, right? So that's him done. Jesus, I'm a winger by heart that plays up front. I like to get on the ball and dribble, but goal scoring is not my primary thing. I'm just a forward that can play. So that's him out, right? Odegaard's a creator, right? But really, he's a bit more of an all-rounder to get on the ball in different areas. Some of that away from the goal. So that's him out, right? So when we played Jesus in Milan, he was able to float and it all looked so great. Why? He had 2 reference points in Eze and Marino right near him that he can play up to them. They've got big legs, they can protect the ball, and he can roll off them. We could work off that reference point. In this game, we didn't have that. Rice and Zubimendi were too far away, and so was Odegaard. So we had a small Jesus, a small Trossard, trying to affect their backline. So we had to affect their backline based on waves and being out of possession stuff until we couldn't. Then what? Where are we going? I'll tell you where we're going to go. We're going to go to number 7, who's got Dorgu and Shaw right there. We knew what was going to happen. It's like Mazraoui. What was it, Bayern Munich a couple of years ago? Mazraoui played left back and someone was in front of him. 2 left backs. You can see it coming all week. You can see it coming all week. And so every time I see some of the mini criticisms of Saka out there, and I am someone that looks at the game, and when I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, how can we get the ball to him? Yes. I have that anxiety, and I've had that anxiety maybe now for nearly 2 years. How can we get the ball to him? Under stress, nothing has changed. We're still going into number 7. How can we get there quickly? Can you beat 2 men, please, and put it into the box? Because that's who we are under these difficult moments. And so, yeah, you're quite right. I'll tell you, there's one moment concerned me. He had the shot near post. Remember the shot near post? Keeper saved really, really well. I was really, really pleased with that.
Didn't that win us the corner that we scored from?
May have done. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think you might be right.
Yeah, it did.
So it's a great shot, right? And he snapped it earlier. I thought, brilliant. That's the sort of stuff you want to see. But there was one later on in the game where we did some good play on the right-hand side, and it came to Saka in the box, and he chose to lay it off to Madueke. And mate, that's the time you're in the box, you just roll it out to your left foot and smash it. I'd rather see it get blocked than you deferring to somebody else that hasn't scored a Premier League goal. Yeah, so that's my only issue I'd have for his performance, really, because he's still the one that we rely on far too much, and we overburden far too much. And the issue with us is maybe systemic and how the manager sets us up. But we have to say it, right? We have to say it. Systemically, the way we were set up is not platforming our attackers. It's platforming almost everybody else.
Yeah. I mean, do you really think that our attackers are so poor that they can't muster more than 3 Premier League non-penalty goals? Because that's where they're at. That's what we've got. We got none from Nani. We got 3 from Saka. I mean, we've got 3 from Gyökeres, 1 from Jesus. Leo Trossard's our leading goal scorer, but hasn't scored in ages, like for non-penalty goals in the Premier League. Yeah, I think it's fair. And I do think he's lost sight of some partnerships, too, to your point, Clive. You start Jesus. You know what you do when you start Jesus? Start Gabriel Martinelli. That's a partnership that has historically been tremendous, and they've always looked good together. You start one who comes to the ball and drifts left, and you start the other who can get in behind and cause difficulties. It's time for some partnerships to redevelop on the pitch as well. If you're going to have Gyökeres out there, have Odegaard. The thesis, at least, is that Odegaard has that ball in behind to Gyökeres. Now they may not give you the space to play it. I get it. I do think we're also running into the fact that at some point, this idea that you can play three in possession, regain and retain ball-winning midfielders, and that platforms your attack is brushing up against reality a bit. Manchester City are not great. And Manchester City made an interesting Faustian bargain, by the way. You could see how it goes wrong either way, because what did they do? They lost Kevin De Bruyne. They've essentially lost Rodri. They lost Kyle Walker. They're trying to redevelop themselves. What did they do? Cherki and Reiners. Cherki and Reiners can't win the ball in the Premier League. Cherki and Reiners can't win in transition. And so City still get transitioned on. But you know what they can do? They can get in the pockets of space. They can move the ball forward. Cherki's final ball, sensational. So they went one direction, we've gone the other. I'm not saying City got it right. I'm just saying you have to live with the choices you make, because we've got Declan Rice playing 8 and Martin Odegaard playing 8. And Martin Odegaard, who, when he was 15 goals and 8 assists, or 10 goals and 10 assists, okay. But at the moment, for one reason or another, he's more of a middle third player than a final third player. And I do feel that we lack a final third presence in midfield, someone like an Emirates, and I'm not going to sit here and not admit, as has been basically crap recently. But I also don't think, there's certain players you can bring on and say, help us win the game late, like a Martinelli out on the left. I don't think you can bring in mercurial 10s into midfield in a rescue mission. I don't know that I think that that's necessarily going to work, because that takes time to develop structurally. But anyway, the front three is not delivering. And Tim, when we get to the substitutions, this is why I think Mikel's in the washing machine a bit too with his partnerships and his teams, because fundamentally, whether you think Nani's better than Martinelli or Eza should play left or any of that, the decision to bring Nani on and move Saka to the left is just baffling to me. It just is. And it speaks to hoping to find the solution rather than knowing the solution. That's what it says to me. Because it says, first of all, to anyone who thought, we bought Nani Madueke to be left wing, that's out the window now. He was bought to be Saka's backup, because here was a chance for him to go play left wing, and he didn't. Saka moved for him. So to me, this spoke to a not knowing the solution, but hoping to find the solution. I realize that is the dimmest view of it, because Mikel, I think, has every possible combination thought through in his mind with his group, but that was really strange to me. So what do you think of those subs, and in particular that decision to move Saka left and play Nani right?
Yeah, I found that completely baffling, because I've kind of wanted to see Madueke on the left a little bit in the last few weeks. Not because I'm absolutely convinced it will work, but again,
change the dynamic, get to the byline, right? Cross with your stronger foot.
And we were kind of told that was part of it. Otherwise, a bit like we said about the Eza signing last week, like if he doesn't play on the left, the signing doesn't make sense to me. Like, why are we spending £50 million on like Saka's backup? I realise like we're trying to look after Saka more, that's absolutely fine, but I really didn't get that. When Madueke was coming on, I was thinking, okay, Madueke to the left. You want Saka surely cutting in, shooting, getting to the corner of that penalty area and putting those crosses in. I don't know if it was related to the fact that Timber was at left back, maybe. And I didn't think that was a good decision either, to be honest. It did seem a bit strange to me as well, to your point about partnerships. Ben White comes on, Odegaard comes off. We put Saka on the left. So, like, probably our most defining kind of partnership trio we have, we completely break it up at a time where we probably could have used it, to be honest. And, we were struggling to break United down. To me, bring Marino on because he's got aerial presence. We're probably going to have to spam some crosses here. So let's get a guy who's good at arriving and getting on the end of them. And it didn't make any sense to me. It's the first time in a while that I've kind of looked at a game and thought the manager's kind of lost the plot here a little bit. Like, I've said many times before, because I can see Arteta, he's right in my eye line from where I sit. And I've said before, I've seen loads of times, like someone misplaces the ball or something, subs over here now. You're coming on right now. So I think he does make emotional substitutions, and I don't mind that necessarily. But it's like when it's 4 at once, and your fifth is we're going to move Saka to the left and put Madueke on the right. And like, to me, Madueke, he's the guy you move. To me, I don't think you move Saka. Like, is Madueke going to cut in and shoot? I don't think he is. Like, he never scores, really. I mean, maybe that's disservice. He did it, didn't he, in the Champions League a few weeks ago? But we don't see it often. Saka had just done it as well, like where he nearly caught the goalkeeper out. And I just feel like we kind of... I know Saka hasn't been playing to his absolute tip-top best recently, but I feel like we kind of took one of our most likely avenues to a goal, and we just put him somewhere he hasn't played for years. So I didn't get it at all, no.
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny too, because managers with their comments will sometimes tell you who they're frustrated with. He's always been willing to tell you when he's frustrated with a Martinelli miss. He made a comment that I thought was a little bit pointed with Nani Madueke. And if you missed it, because I think it's kind of interesting. He says, this is interesting. After that, in the second half, they had 2 brilliant goals, some individual quality, blah, 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 in big games, blah, blah, blah. Okay, score the second goal, and you could feel that everything changed, and the game was there to go win it. In the next action, Nani is 1v1 in the 6-yard box. We don't get anything out of that. It goes to a goal kick. They close structure, 1 pass, win the duel, and Cunha puts it in the perfect angle to lose all the momentum, all the good energy to build up and go and win the game for them. So very, very disappointing, obviously. In the same post-match comments, by the way, he called back to the Forest game, and he says, Forest, we go to Forest, and you look back, we concede nothing, and the 5 big chances that we didn't score. So I think just a little needle towards the Nani moment there. And Clive, I'm going to bring you in on that, but Tim is struggling with a pretty bad cough. We're going to let Tim go because the cough is disrupting him, causing him some problems. So Tim, feel better. Thanks for hanging in there. And we will talk to you on the next one. Okay.
Cheers. And apologies to everyone who's watching on YouTube. You'll probably see me. Thankfully, I've been using the mute button, but I've needed it.
Effectively, too. Remembering to come off mute. Note to all of us professionals who don't. All right, Tim, thank you. Yeah, Clive, what do you make of that? The comments aren't that pointed. I don't want to make a mountain out of molehill by any means, because I don't think he ever means to stick the boot in on his players. And in fact, to be fair to Mikel, just so that we're being balanced here, he also said... very, very disappointed, obviously, but it's a moment, especially after losing, and the joy and everything that those players are giving us, and me in particular, to take responsibility myself and be very close to them, because it's exactly what they deserve. On multiple occasions post-match, he said, for 7 months they've been doing it. They deserve our support and our love. So I don't want to make it sound like he's just kicking players. He's not doing that.
No,
but
he's not.
Your thoughts on the subs, the move of Nani to the left, and maybe even those comments?
Yeah,
move of Saka to the left. Sorry.
Yeah, I wouldn't have moved Saka. I never move him, right? He's one of the best right wingers in the world. Don't move him. We've got to stop this. And Madueke, I want to see him on the left more. My starting left would have been Martinelli. Centre forward, I would have gone Gyökeres, because I just think we can find him. And on Saka would have been my right-handed choice. I would have started Odegaard. Same. The rest of the team would be exactly the same. In fact, I was happy Hincapié was starting, because he's more of a wide centre-back. I presumed that Timber would have pushed on, because he's been pushing on a lot, which means you end up with a 3, and I think Hincapié is really good as an outside 3, and we go from there. So Hincapié found himself high up, putting crosses, etc. So I think we got that wrong, Elliot. And I think we need to explore that a little bit more. So I saw some preview videos, and they were talking about the potential of Madueke being on the left, and I really liked the idea of it, and him starting there. And I wondered if that was going to actually happen. For me, you had to attack those fullbacks. You had to change. You had to force those midfielders to come back to protect what they had to protect. And the only time they came back was in the first 30 minutes. As soon as we ran out of puff off the ball, then they grew in confidence and grew in stature. And that's when it became a contest, shall we say, that they controlled without winning any other stats. But we felt they had a level of control about their performance. And for me, the key thing was our lack of energy, duel winning, and disjointed attacking cohesion, which always gave them a hope they could get back in. because we didn't look as certain about where we were going on the pitch. I said it again, we didn't have enough simplistic patterns. We didn't have enough reference points in the team to which to rely on. And hence he made changes which gave us some structure, he felt, in offensive areas. But maybe the game was already a little bit broken up by then and it all looked a little bit mishmashed. But I think the lessons were learned. And I had this feeling that we needed this kick in the arse. We needed this kick. Sometimes pressure brings clarity. Tim spoke about the fact of injuries in the women's team brought clarity. I think now this whole period in January in 4 competitions, 4 away games, and the exhausting trips that they've had to do, it's brought clarity now about what's working and what's not working. We've seen a lot of the squad. Everyone's coming back to fitness. We're getting clarity now about what the next steps are. And I think we needed this. And I think, hey, no one wants to see us lose, but if you react appropriately, it could be a moment we remember. You know, and I think we want to see some decisions now that need to be made about the relationships and who's going to play in the key moments and what we expect of them in the key areas of the pitch. This is what people want to see. But I thought, Elliot, Arteta's comments about the players and being close to them, that tells me even more this was a game of psychology and mentality. That he needs to put his arm around them. Right? So he's telling you, isn't he? And it comes back to us as supporters. We're more terrified than the players. At some point, there needs to be an inflection point where we're all learning how to win. I include the supporters in this. We're all learning how to win. At the moment, I think we're all getting it a little bit wrong. Myself included, we're all getting it a little bit wrong. And we just got to calm down a little bit.
Not every game is the same, but I do like what you say about looking at games in clusters, looking at games in runs. And my reaction to this game is informed by my feeling about the run we're on in the league right now. I really believe, Villa game aside, we have largely been mediocre in the league since Derby Day. And I think it's after that day that we changed up a lot of partnerships. Mikel Merino had been starting at striker, as had been in midfield. We had something that was working for us. And I don't want to sit in here and pretend that Merino was banging in the goals and Eza was looking amazing. My point isn't those guys are better than the other guys. But we've been in the washing machine a bit since then. We've chucked goals in. There are some interesting data points here. And by the way, before you tell me United were any good, I want to be clear about why I think the attack is where to focus on. They scored 2 goals in the second half. The cumulative XG from those 2 goals is 0.08. They're Golazzos, both of them. Okay? They're both Golazzos. To be clear, they had 4 touches in our box in the second half. 4. Okay? This is a case of Arsenal not getting their foot on the ball in the dangerous areas and hurting them. One thing that really stands out to me, first of all, they had 51 passes in the final third in the second half. We had 104, right? So dominant in the boxes, dominant in the final third. But what's interesting about United, in a second half where they had, 44% possession, something like that, they only made 17 passes in their defensive third to our 55. They weren't trying to play around the back. And so our out-of-possession intensity, our out-of-possession shape, they said, to hell with that. We're not going to play there. I sometimes think we are willing to play in the areas we shouldn't be playing too much. And Clive, you've said that. And we have to find a way to get the ball up the pitch into the dangerous areas to the players who can cause the most damage. And then obviously convert that into goals. They got goals here from situations that you don't normally expect to concede. I have to ask you about this, even though I don't think it's worth a huge talking point, because I'm not going to sit here and say we played well. But against Forest, Ola Aina handles the ball, and they don't give it to us. It would have been a get-out-of-jail-free card, but we should have gotten it. In this game, I remember Kai Havertz, we had a goal chalked off. I think it was against Liverpool, was it? Because Kai Havertz supposedly handled the ball, or touched the ball with his hand before, and I don't even know that we ever saw conclusively touched it. Dorgu's strike is brilliant, and I don't think he uses his arm, but it touches his arm before he kicks it, and all I've ever heard is, if it touches your arm before you kick the ball, it's not a goal. So, I get it. It would have been harsh on United, but isn't that the letter of the law, or do I have it wrong?
You probably have it right. I think he semi-controls it. I think he's happy for his arm to be there because it makes him bigger, and he can get that ball settled down, and he lashes in top corner. I'm a football man first and foremost, and if that goal had been disallowed, it would have been quite disappointing for the football watchers, not for Arsenal people. I didn't sense a handball when I was watching it live. And I sometimes think of these incidents.
Letter of the law, Clive. Letter of the law.
Yeah, I know.
Remember
but
letter of the law?
VAR is just ruining goals that are goals, mate, for toenails and things like that. We got. All
right, so can I ask you a different one?
Mm-hmm.
Maguire going down. Now, this is one where I think the law is on their side. And as I understand it, this is the law. If the law as it's interpreted, if the ball hits an arm being used to support your body on the ground, it cannot be handball. The problem with it in this instance is he is not yet on the ground. He is going to the ground. So thoughts on this one?
Natural movement. He's going to the ground. He put his arm down. Remember, Odegaard had one at Liverpool. Remember a couple of years ago at Anfield.
I thought that
quite
was a handball.
similar. That was more.
They
that was more of a handball than this one. The handball which was a handball was the Forest one. Because we know that he was trying to stop that ball going out, and he used his arm to cradle the ball, and that was it. And that was a handball, and that could have been 3 points. But Martinelli, do your job. It doesn't really matter, right? So yeah, I'm not going to focus on those things. I think for us, we walked into a team feeling themselves, and I've seen them come to Arsenal in the FA Cup recently and do the similar type feeling you had. Sometimes you meet a team at the wrong moment. City met them at the wrong moment. We met them at the wrong moment. That's it. The game I focus on is Forest. That's the one that annoys me the most. Manchester United, they played some really good stuff, Elliot. It may not be good from a dominance point of view, but some of their movements and combination play was really good. You have to say it. Dorgu may not score that goal ever again, like Danny Rose, for example, a few years ago. But he did it on the day.
Several years ago.
Yeah. And Cunha scored a beautiful goal that's in his locker. And he has not been convincing people. So he's been on the bench a couple of games. He's come on and he delivered at the moment. And that was a beautiful goal. So we got to take it. We're getting memed. We're getting stick. And this is what it will be like if we don't win this. Times 1,000. So today is a tough day. But I think we need this day to remind the players, mate, this isn't an up escalator all the way. We've got to do it. We've got to make this happen. Just because a supercomputer tells you you're going to win it, you still got to go and do it. And we've got a home game with 60,000 people desperate to win. And now I have to sit there and watch Sky TV saying how everyone booed at the end of the game when it was like a grumbly boo rather than a boo to try to break the club apart. It's just... This is where we are. We are fun today. We have to take it. It's our third loss in all competitions. We have to take it and hopefully react appropriately.
Do you want to weigh in on the atmosphere issue at all? I mean, I hate policing stadium atmosphere because I think people are totally unrealistic about how things work. I think people express their natural human emotions in a sports stadium, and there's a symbiotic feedback loop between the players on the pitch and the fans in the stands. I think when you, for example, I've been at the Emirates quite a bit now. I've had the privilege. When there's sustained pressure on the opposition, the fans find it easier to get up. When it's a bit turgid, when Ben White's taking ages over a throw-in, when the ball's going between center backs and we desperately need a goal, there are groans. Not because people don't know how to support their team, but because people are human beings. Would it be better if we got back to the 22, 23 or whatever it was, 21, 22 season where it was post-COVID and everyone was just happy to be in a football ground and we were surprisingly challenged for a title? Of course it would, but it's 3 seasons of second place, and just like the players feel the pressure, the fans do too. So I find it hard to be a scold about how people react to things as human beings, but do you think the fans in the ground need to have a word with themselves and find a way to get behind the team more, even if that's not what they're feeling in the moment?
I think pre-game, Arteta was speaking a lot about needing the fans. I think he sensed it's going to be a difficult day. And I think his reaction pre-game and post-game about the players, I think he could see that people were on the edge of performance, shall we say. So, but we weren't saying that after Milan. But maybe he could see something in training, etc. And I can only go by my own experiences and where I sit and the people that I talk to, people that I see in the 12 pins. Everybody's feeling tense. Everyone's feeling it, and that's it. And if that's extrapolated across the ground, it's going to be the same. We're all the same. We've got the same worries. we all sort of know we're the best team, which puts even more pressure on us. If City were good, I think we'd be really happy. We've got an excuse if we don't win because they're brilliant. Look at them. De Bruyne, all the rest of it. Okay, we haven't won, but we are playing against a nation state. It's okay. So the pressure's been ramped up. Articles coming out saying we're the best team in Europe, best team in the world. And so now you think a lot more about what you can lose rather than what you can win. And I think that's permeating across the team. Yep. And I don't blame anyone for feeling this way because I feel this way. I'm struggling to sleep on occasions. I feel this way. But then one thing I always know about football, mate, is there's always another game. And opinions change, your feeling change. You go into a good moment all of a sudden. I hate January. That damn League Cup semi-final I hate it. I hate the fact that it's there. I hate the fact that the Champions League has now got 2 extra games. It loads up
my
January.
Language.
That's 3 extra games that we don't need, right? So,
set up differently for them. Just saying,
we did. We've made the changes for them. We're never going to agree on rotation.
I'm being difficult.
We have made
I'm gonna be difficult
so
because of the
many
Chelsea
changes. 10 changes in one game, 7 changes in another game. We can't say we're not rotating. When we don't win, we should have rotated that guy. We should have substituted that guy. We could have moved that guy. This is why I don't want to get hung up about that. I want to get hung up about the balance of the team and what we are trying to achieve and how we manage moments of psychological stress that we are going to face down the road. This is only just started, mate. This is January. So there is a good article out there. I'm going to say this from Ollie Holt. And he's basically give us all a bit of a slap to say, guys, you're okay. Saka, Gabriel, and all these major people, they're gonna do their stuff. And maybe in my job as a supporter is to remember these players, how good they are, and don't get too worried. And maybe find a way to encourage them because we all want the same things. Of course, we can all see a couple of them are struggling, but they're gonna come back. I'm convinced of it.
Data analysis can lead you down bad roads in football sometimes because it's not a sport that is cleanly defined by data. This is another game we won on XG. I don't use that to say that we were the better team. But I do think if you want to have optimism, one area of optimism is you can just look at it and say, first of all, we're overperforming our XG slightly, but by the lowest margin we ever have under Mikel, basically. On an XG allowed standpoint, we're now underperforming XG allowed. We have the best expected goals allowed in the league, and we've conceded more than expected. And you can see that with your eyes. You don't need the data to tell you. Goals are flying in. Okay? My belief is that'll balance a bit. That on another day, that Dorgu goal flies into Rosed. Cunha's shot is wide of the target. Ultimately, Mikel Merino gets us a goal back from a corner, and the pressure's on them. And 2 seconds later, to Mikel's point, Nani runs it out for a goal kick. They kick it up the pitch. Declan Rice goes fishing, and Cunha scores from 23 yards out, 22 yards out, brilliantly. But it's a 1 in 15, 1 in 20 chance that he puts away. Okay? Some days that happens. I think back to a Chelsea game where Mudryk mishit a cross and it went in. Those things happen. On another day, that Cunha goal doesn't go in and maybe we get a draw, or maybe the pressure we bring to bear at the end of the game, they collapse and we get a historic win. It just hasn't gone for us that way. And look, the points, you don't get the points because of that. But if you want the bull case, the optimist case, is that these things will come back to us. That as we're seeing in Europe, we're a very good team. As we're seeing in the domestic cups, we're a very good team. As we've seen over this season, we are still the best team in the league over the course of the season so far, by 4 points. So nothing is lost, and everything is there to gain and to have. But the team has to believe that. And I do think Mikel has to figure out how to get us more goals. Because here's where league football will mess with your head. If Manchester City were on a 90-point pace right now, just follow me on this, please. We would already be out of the title race. We would be already out of the title race if they were on a 90-point pace. But they're not. We are currently on an 82.6. So if you want to be an optimist, 83-point pace. 82, 83-point pace. In my estimation, Clive, that is below what this team should accomplish. And so I think it is fair, even though we are 4 points clear and at the top of the Champions League and in the semifinal of the League Cup and still in the FA Cup, I think it is fair to say right now, as of this moment, I feel this team is performing less than its capacity, its ceiling in the Premier League. Is that fair? When you look at this team being on an 82-point pace right now, and by the way, 82 points might win this title, and no one takes that away, and there's no asterisks, okay? But I think my disappointment comes from my belief that this is a team about to go on a multi-year generational run that has the ability to be a 92-point team, like the Klopp Liverpool teams, like Pep in his pomp. That this is a team that has the ability to conquer everything. That's how good it is. And I don't think, at least in the league, because in Europe it does look that good, I don't think in the league we look like that. So my expectation are bumping up against my reality. Am I asking too much? Do we need to recalibrate and forget the 92-point title seasons and recalibrate to 82-point title seasons? And maybe the team needs to do that too, so that they stop thinking any drop point means we can't be champions anymore and play with a little less anxiety around that.
Yeah, the last bit was really good there about anxiety. I think the way I look at it, it sounds boring, right? But I don't think the 90-odd points is where the league is anymore. We've got smart out-of-possession coaching. We've got the best coaches in the world. We've got the best facilities in the world in the league. We've got a lot of good sports science. We're producing a lot of good performances. Look what Fulham are doing. And look what Sunderland have done this season. Really good sides. That's where it's different in the league. And I think the best result of the weekend was probably Aston Villa's result. Apart from Man United, Aston Villa in Europe went away to Newcastle, beat them 2. I haven't seen a performance, but Aston Villa are as much of a threat as City. Look at their average age. City are far more in transition. Tim sent us a note last week, and he's absolutely right, saying that a lot of City's team haven't won before. There's a lot of new players in that team. They haven't led a title run, shall we say. Good players, obviously. But so Aston Villa, they're not won many titles, but look at their average age. They're experienced professionals, right? So they can go and turn up and do that in Newcastle 3 days after playing in Europe. So it's a challenging season by which we are the best equipped for. We have everything. And the last 3 years, my appraisal of it. First year, big surprise. Second year, took too long to get into our shape. We were very, very close, but it's a much better City team. The third year, let's not pretend that second place was anything other than that's where we should be, because we're the second best team, because the best team won the league because they deserve to. So though we have a collective of 3 second places, there was only one we was really challenging properly for the full length of get to the last day. And now here we are this season, and we all know we're the best team. The league knows we're the best team. So now this is real. This is real. And we have to embrace it and see it as a significant opportunity and not something to fear. I think a lot of the things I want to say is around fear. But the thing I fear the most, my biggest fear, Elliot, my biggest fear is that last home game of the season, when the players do that lap of appreciation and there's no one in the seats. That is my biggest fear. And so this needs to happen this year because it's the right time. And we are the best team. So we need to go and do it. Embrace the opportunity and go and take it.
I think one thing that has changed is 3 seasons ago, no one expected us to be title contenders at all. It was a joyous surprise. 2 seasons ago, we expected to be title contenders, and we went to our second highest point total ever. And I think we're the best team in the league, and we were a little unlucky against a City team that got over 90 points. And if you get over 90 points, you just tip your cap. Last season, injuries and PGMOL stuff, everybody understood it. We made it to the semifinal of the Champions League in a season where we ran out of players. Yeah. Okay. This season, I think, is the first time I genuinely feel we should win the title. We're in a position to win the title. There is no excellent team chasing us, and failure to win the title is the first time I think I'd be prepared to call it failure. Yeah. I have been very clear that I have loved and appreciated what we've accomplished the last 3 seasons. This season, I don't think I can take that kind of view from the position we've been in with the squad we have with the teams that are chasing us. Now, just so we're clear, we might actually just go on and win the title. And that's fine, Yeah. But I think this is a season where I hate to say have to do it, because if City somehow get on a run and get to 92 points and we get to 89,
Well, they deserve it.
anything can happen from here.
Yeah.
But I don't see that happening.
But, I think we're all racked with fear at the moment, disappointment. People, you can blame who you want to blame. We all have, I'm not in that blaming mode at the moment. I'm more in opportunity mode at the moment. And if I just turn the opportunity around and say, look, guys, if we start to play our game properly and we get our balance right and we get our selections right and we impose ourselves like we can do very, very quickly, a goal would help. And soon suddenly people are bouncing around the pitch again very, very quickly. This team has an opportunity to win the league, but also win the Champions League and do something that no ever Arsenal team has ever done.
We're favorites to do both of those things.
In our history. So right now we're tense, but let's get our heads up and look at what we could do, what we could achieve. And it's so close. And maybe the only thing stopping us is our own internal fears, and we need to release the fear a little bit. And I think it's a collective thing. People can blame the manager, they can blame this player, they can blame that player. I don't care. I watch the games, mate. I watch them. And we do everything collectively. When we're hot, we do it collectively. When we're cold, they all look cold. When we're nervous, they all look nervous. You can blame who you want. Yeah, but that's who we are, right? So for me, I would like to say to everyone's listening to this in the club, please remind them of the opportunity they have to be generational players in our history. Generational, and do something that's never been done before.
It's so clear because you watch them in Europe, they look excited to do what they can do. And in the Premier League, they look nervous to lose what they might lose. Yeah. And you just be excited for what you can go achieve, because what's interesting about this season, what makes it so hard, and we'll end here, this season in the league has had two fun games. Derby at home and Villa at home. What's been a hallmark of this Mikel Arteta team that I've repeatedly praised is even when we haven't gone on and won it, they've given us such fun moments. We smashed City. We smashed Chelsea. We beat Liverpool. We beat United home and away. We beat Spurs home and away. We had these big fun moments. This season, we didn't beat City at home. We didn't beat Liverpool at home. We lost to Liverpool away. We lost to Villa away. We didn't beat Chelsea, who were down to 10 men. We lost to United at home. It hasn't been as fun as a title run feels like it should, because some of the big moments haven't been there like they have been in past seasons. So I get that adds to a bit of the frustration. But to your point, it's all still there for us. This should be an inflection point, and let's hope that it is. It is great that we have midweek off. Functionally, we have midweek off, because I think on 7 days rest, we're a different proposition. So I think we need to rest everybody. Mikel, if you listen, I know it's not in your DNA.
He will this
play
week.
The kids against Kairat Almaty. It genuinely is a non-starter game. It genuinely, all right, there are no kids. By the way, thanks, Ethan. Could you have picked maybe 1 week later to score your Golazo for Marseille, so that we didn't have to look at what you can do? But kudos to him, by the way. Happy for him. Fun to watch Marseille with him. Ultimately, my point is get the rest, get the recovery, have the curry, as Clive said, and go to Leeds and put this in the rearview mirror. That's really all there is. There's the next game. You can only win the game in front of you. We have to stop playing like we're trying to win the title. Just try to win the game in front of you. And I think we are the better team in every game we play. So we should do that, is my opinion. I think we can leave it there. And we'll try to get a scouting video in for you, as I said, because I think we need a palate cleanser from this now. At this point, you can only go over the same issues so many times. Then we'll have maybe an interesting and fun game to analyze midweek that'll just be a nice break from the intensity of the league, which I think we could all use. So, Clive, thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, if you want to join us for the scouting video, there's a new code, by the way. It's Saliba50. They forced me to change it every once in a while. So all caps, Saliba50 for the half off on the Patreon. If you want to join there, we'd love to have you. Thanks for everything, everybody. We do love you. As we sift through, we haven't had to do this kind of sift through the wreckage, kind of reckoning stuff much. Not much at all over the last 3 years, to be fair, but a little bit of it today. So thanks for putting up with us. My name's Elliot Smith. We love you, and we will talk to you after Arsenal 10. Kairat now.